are the breeding grounds for strong real estate markets. Welcome to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr, where Dick unlocks your doors to everything happening in the community and tells you how you can use that to your real estate advantage. And now, here's your host, Dick Barr.
Hello, Lake County. Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County. I'm your host, Dick Barr. Kristen Kaufman is out of the studio today, and that's why I got to turn the volume off my phone. She's always a gentle reminder to tell me to shut my phone off. There we go. Welcome back, Lake County. This week we've got Marinca, back in the studios. Hello, everybody. We've got a bunch of special guests today. I'm excited to introduce everyone. We've got running for Wild Lake Park Mayor. We've got Robert Seminary. Hello. Good morning. Oh, nice. Good morning on that mic. Welcome. Thanks for coming in. My pleasure. The opportunity. Oh, my pleasure. We also have from the north side of the county, we have Antioch Township Supervisor. Good afternoon. Welcome. And you've got some family blood in the room.
I brought along my firstborn, Brian Shaughnessy, realtor.
Hey, Brian, welcome to the studio.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for coming in. I know, Brian, I know you, I don't know if you know this, but I run a nightlife entertainment site where we announce all the bands that come to town, all the nightlife. And you're an owner at Florida Island, right? That's one of the, here, I'm not picking up on that mic. Yeah, bring your mic up here one more time. Yes, I am. Oh, that's perfect. Now move that mic so it stays in front of you. Yes. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Sorry to scratch. That's right. Because there's a big laptop between me and Brian. You don't usually have these many seats on you guys, so sorry about that. Florida's one of my favorite places in the world. We went a million miles from nowhere. Slogan, right? That's right. The Key West of the Midwest, right? Yeah. Key West of the Midwest. I used to go there all the time. I go to like Florida Rock. I think my favorite things. And then the body not sure if I'm bikini contests and things like that. Yeah. But thanks for coming into the studio. I know you're a busy guy. You've got a lot going on. And look forward to it. So basically, here's the layout of the show today. We're going to start with our show. We're going to consolidate everything we talked about down to the first half an hour. We're going to try. As much of a big talker I am, we're going to try and limit what we talk about, and then we're going to hit the market minute, then we're going to hit Sly's mortgage minute, then we're going to take our first break. And what we did, because I think I didn't want to inundate our audience with commercials. What I've done is, instead of having commercials, big, long 30-second spots, what we do is we've introduced new features that will be sponsored by a sponsor. So the sponsor gets their recognition, and then, but the public also gets some pretty cool, interesting. So we have a weather report we're going to hit live. We're going to do a real estate news, going to tell you everything that's happening in real estate in Lake, Cook, and McHenry counties. And then we do a nice little bit that's called Strange But True. But here's the kicker. None of it's true.
None of it's true. Okay, I was wondering. Yeah, the story last week had me questioning.
Both stories last week were weird, yes. and I did some fact checking, and sure enough,
the Volo one?
So the Voluvian, supposedly the Volo Lake Ness Monster,
yes.
Loch Ness Monster, so I looked it up. What's funny is because they said East Twin Lakes, which sounded weird. I've never heard of East Twin Lakes.
No such thing, right?
But it turns out there is a monster, a folklore monster called Veluvian, but it's like in Colorado.
Okay.
So I don't know where the
distant
script came from.
offspring.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the other weird one, which was the captain from the Civil War selling Christmas trees in Chicago.
Yeah.
Supposedly his 600-pound iron coffin washed up on the shores of Lake Michigan. Everything about that story was completely true, except the fact that he washed up in a 600-pound coffin on the shores of Lake Michigan.
Makes
so
sense.
we do not vouch for the accuracy or credibility of any of those bits. But then we do a This Day in History, talk about going back all the way in time, find out what's going on in history on March 12th of any year. So we're going to hit you with that, try to be a little bit more entertaining, a little bit more fast-paced, and get this moving along. I do want to talk about a couple of things that I've seen in the news lately. Sly, I think I'm preaching to the choir on this one with you.
Yes.
Story out in the Boston Globe yesterday. Yesterday, the day before.
Okay.
Here's the headline. The Boston Globe. And Boston Globe is it's not even independent, it's not conservative, it's not Republican, it's not. It's just the Boston Globe. It's from Boston. What do you think, their political leaning?
Probably
right?
leaning left.
Yeah. Here's the headline. The lockdowns were never really effective. New research shows COVID stay-at-home orders did more harm than good.
Come on, you don't say.
Are you shocked as I am?
It's totally shocked, utterly shocked at that.
The only thing I'm shocked about is that the Boston Globe is the one who reported it.
Yeah, well.
What they did was they referenced, so they said, so here's their subheadline. 5 years ago, lockdown critics faced death threats and censorship. Now they're gaining influence amid new evidence on the harmful health effects of prolonged isolation.
Yeah.
And they report, and they show a lot of new studies. But these studies, when I did some research, the studies go back as far as 2021, when there was a report in the National Institute of Health on their website that talked about the severe negative effects of the lockdowns. And one of them had a lot, primarily loneliness, mental health, not seeing family.
Suicide rates went up, all of that, depression, anxiety, all of that went up for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then people not getting checked by their doctors, not going in for regular routine examinations, and all of this has led to somewhat epidemic rise in bad public health. Obesity went up during the COVID lockdowns. Look at it. People couldn't go to a restaurant for a good home-cooked meal. They were forced to go to McDonald's for a $10 cheeseburger. They were like the only places open. So I'm glad to see finally the conversation starting to change, and I'm hoping that we've learned our lesson on this. And because now we're talking about the bird flu.
Yeah.
The bird flu
Here
is
comes round two.
Here it comes, round two.
Yeah. Let's kill all the chickens and wonder why egg prices are through the roof.
But why isn't chicken more expensive?
Yeah.
We killed all those chickens. Eggs are more expensive, but chicken's not for some reason.
Do we get all of our meat from chickens from the United States? I bet a lot of that's imported.
I think most chicken meat comes from chickens.
Yeah. But are those the chickens that are raised and culled here, versus
not the
overseas?
layers, not the layers, the broilers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, interesting. But that's crazy that you're seeing that in the Boston Globe, kind of backtracking on what was perpetrated, during that time. What a strange time coming. 5 years ago, right? It was 5 years ago, I think, this week that the lockdown started. And
like mid-March.
Nuts.
Yeah, right before they closed the bars, right before St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
It was the day before St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That
March
was like
Madness
an extra FU.
Yeah.
all of that. Very interesting time.
Those not listening and those not watching, that was Brian Shaughnessy and talking about that. So you had to feel that because you guys have a big St. Patty's Day party every year, don't you?
Oh yeah, there's the St. Patrick's Day. Florian is participating in Dyeing the River Green in McHenry during their festivals there. We don't do it at the Chicago River like we used to. We do it in McHenry now.
Nice.
So yeah, that's a big day for us. And
That's cool. So let's go over some ground rules, guys. You're on a community radio station. Community radio is, in my opinion, one of the best types of radio you can have, because we're not stifled by a lot of commercial radio rules, but we do have some rules. And so one of the things is we can't have a call to action. What that means is you can't say something like, come to my event. We can't talk about price. We can't even say something's free. So don't say, come and have a free beer at my event at this thing. Can't do any of that. So what I really don't want you doing is what this has been so far. I think this has been a great community resource. Oh, I switched the video. The video's on. So we're getting a little bit of weird kind of video action on the video control panel. So there we go. So far, it's been good. Every candidate's come in. They've talked about who you are, what you do, where you're from, why you do what you do, what your visions are for the community. And I want the public to know who you are. I don't want the public to hear a word about your opponent. I don't want to know why they're good, why they're bad. I just want to know why you're good, and I think that's what my listeners want to hear. And it's been so far really good, really receptive. At the end of the day, we're gonna generate a video of all this, and you guys will have access. You can use it any way you want. Feel free, cut it up. Just don't make me look stupid, or don't make me look fat. I mean, it's gonna be hard to do. So I do maintain full edit control of any video you do share. But welcome.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us. The other thing I want to talk about is, as most of you know, I've been pretty vocally in support of the county not raising development fees, building permit fees.
And there was a vote on that, I saw.
No. It was to be up for a vote.
Okay.
And from what I understand, hundreds of people started contacting county board members. And this is the way government's supposed to work, is the public, once they start seeing what's going on, they reach out and they say, we don't necessarily like what's going on right now, and we'd like you to consider this point. And I would say it worked. It worked yesterday's board meeting. Yesterday at 9 a.m., the county board held their meeting, and they brought it up on the agenda to talk about increasing the permit fees.
Okay.
And enough board members agreed to send it back to committee because there were unanswered questions.
Okay.
And that was the big thing. So the board members through committee, they were asking questions like, well, Lake County is already lagging behind in new development from all of our surrounding counties. Kenosha County, Walworth County, Cook County, DuPage County, McHenry County. So why is that? And the county board commissioned a study a couple of years ago, and they said, hey, why don't developers want to build in our county? And the answer was, development fees are too high.
Cost is too high, yeah. Cost prohibitive.
So the county board says, well, I got an answer to that. Let's raise them.
Yeah. Genius.
And what's funny is if you look at 10 years ago, the county was getting millions of dollars of EAV increase just from new development.
Okay.
And now it's like down to almost nothing. It's less than $1 million now, a year in new development. People don't want to build in Lake County. It's one of the most expensive places in the country to build. So the study said the reason builders aren't building here is because your fees are too high. And it's a combination of fees, right? Impact fees, builder fees, permit fees, all this stuff. But what the board members who were opposed to this increase asked at committee was they asked the staff, how much EAV for everyone who's listening, EAV is just a term. It stands for Equalized Assessed Value. But what it is if you build a new house that's worth $200,000, well, now the EAV of the county has risen $250,000. And that means the county and everyone can collect more tax income. That means you don't have to pay that income coming in. So when you have new development, that helps shoulder the burden of the taxes to everyone.
It's supposed to.
It's supposed to, but sometimes it's used for pet projects. I understand that.
Yes.
But generally, it's like, for instance, if someone builds a house in Lake Villa, a school district, for 200, let's say 400,000, because that's about the average now, $400,000, and they don't have kids. The school is going to get $5,000 to $6,000 of that money to use for either reducing the burden amongst everybody, or adding more services.
Yeah.
Well, both could be, good. Sometimes the answer is more services. Maybe it's more teachers. Maybe it's having a higher teacher-to-student ratio. Whatever it is, it's now we get to bring that teacher in without going to the taxpayers, the existing taxpayers. You can use that new development money. So if the county has a policy that prohibits new development, everyone loses, not just the county, the school districts, the park districts, the library districts, the townships, the villages. You all lose on that extra EAV that helps you fund government. And what is the funny thing about being a politician, and Tom, I'm sure you've probably experienced this. Everyone yells at you when you spend it, and then they yell at you when they don't have it. Mm-hmm. Am I close?
I thought they had it, and you got rid of it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I want to put a special. I want to do a special shout out to the county board member from this district in Round Lake Beach, and he represents parts of Round Lake Beach. Round Lake Park, I think Isaiah Campos represents your district, Robert, and a couple other communities. I'm not sure the full, maybe some of Grace Lake, I don't know exactly. But he got up there, and he made some stellar points, fantastic points. And I was going to play a video, but for some reason, I can't get the sound to go out. So we're just like a technical defect monstrosity here on the Unlocking Lake County show. But he got out there and he said, how much EAV are we losing how much money are we leaving on the table by not making it easier for builder to build? Now, Brian, you're in real estate. What's the best thing for making a place more affordable, more services? What do you think? Is it development or stifling development?
Always development, yes. We need a bigger tax base, and having some development here would be great. I mean, slowing down or hindering developers through permit fees, or the new big one is, sprinkler regulations have really put a stifle to development here, and hindered and held back a lot of, speculators from even speculating on, redoing a house or building a spec home, because those costs have gone up exponentially in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and wait till the lumber prices start creeping up again.
Yeah.
And you bring up a good point. What's funny is, and for those watching the live stream, I do know you were probably getting an echo. I fixed that. You shouldn't get the echo anymore. And it's not just the sprinklers. So last year is when they added the sprinklers. The county added that. But the year before that, the state added mandatory car chargers.
In the garage.
That's the other thing, right?
Thousands of dollars extra.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah. So you want a combustion vehicle? Too bad. You got to have a car charger. You got to pay for it.
Right.
And why? Why? Because they want you to subsidize other people getting it.
Yeah.
Basically, they want the little man, the poor guy, that can't afford a EV vehicle to help subsidize the costs for the people who can't afford it.
Yeah. It does not make any sense.
Like the chair of the county board who drives around in her county-owned Tesla and uses county-owned electricity to charge it while it's parked there.
Yeah.
So don't get me started.
We won't. We don't need to.
So I want to thank the board very much for doing what's right and at least sending us back to committee. It's not dead yet, right? It's not like they're going to come back and say, oh, yeah, we're not doing anything. We expect they're still going to do something. We're just hoping it makes a little bit more sense. Because what they're proposing is a 20% increase across the board today, and then applying a CPI calculator on top of it. So every year it's going to automatically go up. They're basically taking our permitting department and turning it into its own taxing district with CPI increase automatic authority. So they don't have to go to the board and argue for their budget. They're getting the automatic increases through the permit fees. But you know what happens? There's a point of diminishing return that occurs. When it becomes unsustainable, people stop doing it and you get less. Look at how many cigarettes were sold in the U.S. Paying tax, right? Then they started taxing it less and less. Taxing it. And I'm not saying it was a bad idea to tax cigarettes. I think it was a bad idea because I don't like paying it. But ultimately what happens is now less and less people smoke. More and more less and less people are now shouldering a huge tax burden. What happens when all the cigarette smokers go away?
Tax goes away.
No more tax.
No more tax. Where's that revenue going to come from?
Right. Whatever's next, they tax.
They're going to find something else to tax. Tax sugar, tax eggs.
But let me ask you a question, Dick. So about this with the county board, why do they want to do this? Is it simply to increase county revenue?
So it's a great question. It's partly because they want to increase revenue, but what they've noticed is that over the last 8 years, the deficit in the Planning and Building and Zoning Department has increased by $800,000.
So
now
they're
they
trying to
have
make
this
up a deficit.
shortfall they
Okay.
want to try and plug. And what's funny is when you hear them argue, they're like, well, this is a user fee. It should go to the user. I'm sorry. Planning, Building, and Development is a core service of government. It's one of the few core services of government.
Right.
You've got your roads, you got building safety, you got planning, you got economic development, you've got the police, the courts, the water, flood management, water management. Those are some of the core components of why we already pay taxes.
Right.
And then to charge a fee on top of that. But really, let's be honest, they want the fee charged so they can use the money elsewhere, so they can make it look like they're trying to be like, oh, this is for the taxpayer. But it's not. It's really about raising the amount of money coming into county government so their budgets increase. That's what it is.
Okay.
There's no way to candy coat that. It's just the way it is.
Okay, so they're trying to raise the fees to basically close a deficit, but our thought is that, or your thought is that by doing that, by raising these fees, less and less people are going to be paying them because it already doesn't really make sense to build here. It's just going to make even less sense with the higher costs.
Yeah. I mean, how many unfinished developments do we have in Antioch right now?
At least a couple that I could think of.
Some pretty
off the
big
top
ones,
of my
right?
Heads, yeah.
I know they got crushed when we hit the mortgage crisis back in 2008.
Right.
But they should have been coming back by now.
Yeah.
Look at the housing. Look at the demand for housing.
Right.
Why are prices going up 5 to 8% every year?
Right.
Because we got none to sell.
Yeah. Well, and I know in Clublands where I live, which is the one I believe you're referring to that went belly up after, the 2008 crash. I mean, they have been building like crazy. The development, if you drive down Savage Road south from 173, you'll see that there's, lots of that going on there.
Good.
But what I'm seeing is a lot of those are rentals. They're building houses to
Corporate
rent, not houses to sell.
Is it BlackRock?
Yes.
It's Moda Homes, I believe, is the name of the company, but they're renting them out for $3,000-$4,000 a month.
Very high,
Yeah.
high dollar rentals,
Right.
and they're renting them too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of demand for but they're not.
They're not selling them.
They're rentals back there now. There's
Right.
Not owner occupied housing back there now.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know how much the average net worth of a homeowner is, Glenn?
Yeah, isn't it over $300,000 is what the average net, the net worth of the average homeowner is over $300,000 versus less than like $15,000 for
I think it's $7,000.
not homeowner. Okay.
I think the average wealth of a renter is $7,000.
Yeah, big difference.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
I wonder why
Right.
the net worth of a renter who pays someone else's mortgage
Right.
and has nothing when they walk away
Right.
is only $7,000 versus the $300,000 net worth of a homeowner who pays his own mortgage and has something concrete when he walks away.
Absolutely.
A friend of mine came to me recently and said they do a lot of programs for ComEd, and they said, Dick, there's this great program that ComEd's got. You can basically buy a brand new EV Hummer for like $277 a month.
Wow.
I'm like, what? No, you can't. Because you can't buy it, you could lease it. I'm like, oh, okay. But still, okay, $277 a month to have a EV Hummer, pretty cool car. I could see myself wrapping it, Dick Barr flying down the road everywhere I go. But so I looked into it, and the deal wasn't that attractive, right? It was close, but it wasn't near that. But basically what it had come down to was, well, if you prepay the entire lease and you get the ComEd incentive for business accounts, you can get a very low price on it. And I talked to my wife. I said, it's interesting. I might consider doing that. And she says, yeah, but what after 3 years, what? I'm like, what do you mean after 3 years? What? She goes, what do you have? I'm like, I have nothing. She goes, exactly. She goes, what do you have right now? I said, well, I have a 12-year-old car that I haven't paid a mortgage payment in 8 years. She goes, yeah, that's kind of nice, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. She goes, your car still runs, right? I'm like, yeah. It still looks good, right? Yeah. I'm like, okay. I like owning.
Yeah.
I like owning better than
right.
renting. And I'm not trying to talk down leasing, right?
Yeah.
But I like ownership and personal responsibility. And it's a big thing I talk about in government. And guys, I'm going to give you a little lecture. I don't know how either of you plan or do. My big thing is we've had people in here kind of come and talk about saying it's bad for governments to hold reserves, and I can't disagree more. I think reserves should be the cornerstone of local government. I think it's a great idea. If you look at every other state, they have buildings for schools that are 100 years old, and they're fantastic condition. Why? Because the state law doesn't prevent them from using reserves to fund capital expenditures in the future. Yep. We don't have that ability in Illinois. If you've got too much in your reserves, they'll take it away from you. And they'll say, well, you charge the taxpayer too much. I'm sorry. Look at Lake Villa Public Library. They built that new building, and I know that was controversial. Some people hated it. Some people loved it. But we have a brand new library that's gorgeous in a beautiful setting. And guess what? Their taxes have gone down since it was built. Mm-hmm. Instead of them having to go out and get a referendum for $26 million and pay 6, 7, 8% interest on it, they were able to fund their own. So not only were they earning interest on the money they had in reserves, they also didn't have to borrow when it came time. Now, it didn't solve the whole throwaway building concept because they did, get rid of a building and build a new. But they got a buyer for that. I think a church bought that.
Yeah, I believe a church did.
Yeah. I don't know if they got a good deal or not. You're a commercial broker, Brian. I think that sold for about $1 million. The old library.
Yeah, that was a steal.
It was a steal. Yeah, really.
Well, I mean, if you look at the cost to build that building, it was probably 4 or 5 times that.
Oh, probably. But when was it built? I know it was built like partly on wetlands or something, so they had trouble with.
It is a low spot kind of back there where that library used to be.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting off my my soapbox.
Can I just one real? So you were talking about leasing a car. A car is a depreciating asset where over time it's worth less and less.
Right.
A house typically is not. Now it depends. Obviously, sometimes there's high points in the market, low points in the market, but over time, a home should appreciate in value. So it's even more important to own that rather than leasing that.
Right.
Because not only are you giving your money away to pay someone else's mortgage, but you're never going to realize, any real property value appreciation. So leasing a car, I see, I have buddies that want to get a new car every couple of years, and they don't keep a car like you and I do for years and years. They get a new one every few years.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but for a house, it just doesn't make sense over time, and that's why there's such a big discrepancy on net worth of homeowners versus not.
And look at that effect in like San Francisco, where people bought those houses for $99,000 in 1979.
Million, they're worth that.
For $4.3 billion.
Right? Yeah. So over time, definitely, owning a home has been critical to building wealth.
Speaking of Sly Marinca at the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage, hey Sly, do us a favor. You come on our show every week. You're a fantastic asset. Everybody loves you. If they want to get a hold of you, how do they? What's the phone number to reach you?
847-722-1775 is my cell phone number. Available text, call anytime. My website's slymarinca.com, SLYMARINCA.com.
Great, thank you. And that's a great segue into this week's Mortgage Minute.
Here is the Mortgage Minute with Sly Marinca and Cross Country Mortgage on Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
All right. So we're looking at a 30-year fixed average rate this week of 6.79%. That's up a few ticks from last week's 6.72%. The 10-year Treasury yield is currently sitting at 4.317%. Again, that's up just a little bit from last week. We're seeing the CPA data that just came out today. Inflation is cooling. Remember, the reading in January was sitting at 3% for annualized inflation. For February, it's down to 2.8%. So trending in the right direction, but still not enough to make the markets really go haywire. There's currently a probability of 41.3% that the Fed's going to cut rates in May. So it's pretty much zero for March. So a Fed rate cut is not expected for March. And then there's a much larger probability of 86% for a Fed rate cut in June. So trending in the right direction. I know we were talking about rates coming down last year, and they kind of started to do that. But then the inflation readings that came out Again, record deficit spending is going to cause inflation. So those readings started coming in a little bit hotter than expected here over the winter, and now we're starting to see it trend down. So we're still significantly lower than we were, even in January a few short months ago, where rates were hovering around 7.5%. 6.79% is looking pretty good compared to that, and trending in the right direction.
Go ahead.
Yep. So that's what rates are doing.
Well, you heard it here, folks. First, Sly Marinca guarantees.
Never a guarantee, but yeah, June is 86%. So the market,
86.
The market probability is the traders are currently pricing in an 86% probability of a rate cut in June, and 41% for May, and that's up from 10.1% probability last week.
That's great.
So things are trending in the right direction for rate cuts, but that's not always great for the economy. Obviously, the economy has to be doing. So there's lots of signs of recession and weakness in the economy. Consumer confidence is falling. So, sometimes that's what it takes for rates to come down. But really, inflation is what we want to keep our eyes on.
And are they so the percentage for a cut, are they indicating a cut amount?
25 basis points
25
is
basis.
the minimum,
Okay.
right? And that's what this probability is based on. It's not, and it's a probability of traders trading. They trade on a probability of that happening.
Yeah.
And that's what the markets are currently indicating. It's not a guarantee. Obviously, things could change. This could be ramped up and sped up if some of these, catastrophic things that they're talking about with the tariffs and whatnot. The economy could really, it could happen faster. But also, again, if we see inflation start creeping back up again, and let's say next month's reading is, back up above 3%, guess what? This probability will then go down because the traders will trade against that. So it's a constantly moving thing based on real-time information, and just the last week, that's what we saw.
It's interesting, and you bring up a good point, because as we're having some consumer confidence issues.
Yep.
And we're starting to see inflation rearing its ugly head, and tariffs possibly raising costs. Can you think of a worse time for the county to talk about raising development fees?
It's really
and permit fees.
I see it every day, because all I do is look at people's finances and their credit, and I'm talking all walks of life, from the higher level managers that have a good 6-figure income to the low man on the totem pole. Inflation has hurt everybody.
Yeah.
Savings rates have gone way down over the last couple of years. If you look at we've talked about the consumer debt. You have over $1 trillion in credit card debt at 25% interest. That's an absurd amount of interest that's going into just credit card debt. The other interesting thing that I've kind of seen is, have you heard any of this stuff about FHA and making people's mortgage payments? Have you guys seen any of this?
Wow.
Yeah, it's breaking news over the last week or two that there's been discovery that from what I'm reading, that there's some funny business going on. With the government and HUD paying people's mortgages when they fall behind. So I will do some more research on that. I don't want to completely, I got to check my sources. But from what I'm reading, there could be a big scandal coming up with FHA and paying people's mortgage payments, because they're not paying my mortgage payment, and that's taxpayer money that that is going out to help people, and I'm all for helping people, but I'm not sure if paying someone's mortgage that shouldn't have maybe ever even gotten themselves into that situation is the right thing to do. One other real quick thing. So do you remember in January we talked about the law being passed that medical debt will have to be removed from credit reports? So medical collections, we see that all the time on my end. It's constantly, you have a doctor's bill, you forget the copay, whatever, they throw you into collections, and obviously that brings down your scores. Back in January, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was able to get a law passed that is going to be removing that. It's a ban from putting medical bills on credit reports. That does take into effect March 17th, so next Monday. So if you are monitoring your credit and you currently do have medical collections, and I've seen the worst of it. I've seen where someone has had a major medical event and their insurance maybe didn't cover everything. And, I've seen 6-figure, collections on people's credit reports. And, obviously that's very, very bad for your credit. That rule will take into effect next Monday. So if you do monitor your credit and you have some of that, I'd be curious to, maybe some listeners can let us know next week of, if they saw their scores shoot up significantly.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah, and it should, because when something gets taken off your credit, it's usually right away that the scores pop up. I have people all the time that we tell them, hey, do this, do that, and they just monitor it on some of their credit monitoring, whether it's Credit Karma or their Discover app or Capital One or whatever. And the day that they the day that it's reported, they'll see their scores shoot up. So I'm curious to see how this will affect people's credit. It can only help, right? These are derogatory things. And have you ever tried fighting a medical bill? It's like,
it's ridiculous.
I had shoulder surgery a year ago yesterday, and they're still sending me bills. And it's like, dude, I already paid this. Like, why are you sending me a $40 bill for something that I did a year ago that I already paid, my insurance already paid? So I definitely hope that, this will help people credit-wise.
And I agree with you. I think I think it's a really good idea. But here's where I do have the problem.
Yeah.
Because there is another side to this. The people who prioritize the medical bills and let their other bills lapse are the ones left out in cold water.
Yeah.
Right? So they prioritized the medical bills. They made those payments. They were being squeezed for them. And they're like, okay, well, I won't pay the credit card. I'll get back on that one. But the medical collection company is relentless on me. And they made those payments. It's like, I just don't like when we pick winners and losers. That's all.
I'm with you.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's great for the people who got really screwed from crazy medical bills or even bad billing practices, right? So this is going to wipe that away from the standpoint of credit and worthiness. It doesn't change their financial situation.
Right.
They still owe the money. They're not wiping away the debt.
Right.
But it's no longer going to reflect
But
bad.
they're going to be much less likely to pay, in my opinion, if there's really no consequence to them in any other part of their finances.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Mortgage Guy.
Yeah.
Because as a lender, wouldn't you want to know that your borrower can potentially have a lien placed if they get a judgment from a medical collection?
Well, we certainly would, and I would imagine, if it's large enough for that to happen, then they're going to have to do that. And I don't know how I don't know if courts are going to allow that. I don't know if they're going to they're going to allow, I don't see a lot of medical judgments. I see a lot of medical collections, and they're usually small dollar amounts. I got to imagine for some of the bigger stuff, it's literally a $40 missed copay. They'll throw you in collections, and it'll drop your score 100 points.
So
silly stuff like that. And I've had people, like, out of principle say, I paid that, I'm not paying it. And I'm like, but sir, if you pay it, your score will shoot up,
right? And
you're going to get a much better deal on your mortgage. It's going to say, I don't care. Out of principle, I'm not giving them that $40. So I get it, but
I'm with them though. I am.
Yeah, out of principle.
It's extortion. They're going to force me to pay $40 just so they can do it a million times and make $40 million because people are like, well, just pay it and get it over.
It's only $40.
It's only $40, right?
Exactly.
But that $40 is going to cost you a lot more if so. But to answer your question, I don't. Because I've seen so many errors in my own personal life with medical bills and how much, I have insurance. I pay a fortune for insurance. Send it to my insurance. They should cover it. And if they don't, I've already paid you. Why am I paying you again and again and again? And, one other story is my, I have a family member that works at a local hospital, and they just realized that they didn't bill people properly for the last couple of years. They had a new system come in and some of the coding, so they're sending people hospital bills from 2 and 3 years ago. I'm sorry, but there should be a limit where it's like if 6 months goes by, you're free and clear. So imagine all these people that are going to get these bills that for something that was taken care of a few years ago, and under the old rule, they could put them a collection on them if they refuse to pay it. Under the new rules, they won't be able to do that. So I am for it.
I agree with that. Yeah. You ever try, anyone who has an employer, ever try putting in a 14-month-old expense report?
Yeah.
You're not getting paid.
Right.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us for the first half hour. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
It's time for the weather.
This weather update is brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company. Sun's out this afternoon with a high near 50 and a nice gentle east breeze at 5 to 10 miles per hour to keep you company. As the sun sets tonight, it'll be mostly clear, dipping to around 30 with a soft northeast breeze just under 5 miles per hour. Looking toward Thursday, the sunshine keeps on rolling as we hit a high of 56 before easing down to 53 into the afternoon. An east-northeast breeze joining the mix, clocking in anywhere from 0 to 10 miles per hour. Enjoy.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Hello, it's time for Unlocking This Day in History, brought to you by Harder & Shotland Law Firm in Round Lake Beach. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened today in history. Our time machine is set for March 12, 1894, when Coca-Cola was bottled and sold for the very first time in Vicksburg, Mississippi. That's right, folks. The humble beginnings of the fizzy drink that's bubbled its way into our hearts and sugar-loaded bellies. Imagine, just 1 year prior, the drink was only available at soda fountains. Thank goodness for a generic businessman named Joseph Biedenharn, because now Coca-Cola could refresh you wherever you went, and Rattlesnake Roundup or not. Jumping forward to 1919, we land in the world of music. On this day, the great big band leader Lawrence Welk was born in North Dakota. This means that if you ever find yourself waltzing awkwardly in your living room on a Saturday night, you can thank Mr. Welk for that. Fast forward again, this time to 1987, when the sweet melody of Time After Time hit the top of Australian charts. Cyndi Lauper's syrupy voice made all the land down under feel like they were dancing on clouds, timelessly proving time after time after time can be a great track, not to be left behind. In 2010, Google announced its first truly teasery product, Google Fiber, high-speed internet that made Netflix binging a whole new level of delightful couch potato-induced activity. Well, dear listeners, what a ride it is when we peek into the past. And now, without further ado, we return you back to Unlocking Lake County with Dick, Kristen, and Sly.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
The top stories in real estate today. According to a recent update from the Cook County Assessor's Office, property taxes in Cook County are projected to see a significant increase in the coming year. This development is largely attributed to the reassessment of commercial properties, which have risen in value post-pandemic. Residential homeowners may also see some adjustments, though not as pronounced, due to shifts in market dynamics. Experts advise homeowners to stay informed and explore potential exemptions available to them. In Lake County, the local housing market continues to show resilience. A report from the Lake County Real Estate Association indicates a rise in single-family home sales by 3% in the third quarter of this year compared to last year. Despite the economic challenges, demand remains strong, driven by historically low interest rates and an increase in buyers seeking homes in suburban areas. Realtors are optimistic that the market will maintain its current momentum into the next year. McHenry County's real estate scene is embracing sustainability as a new housing development in the area has committed to green building practices. According to a local news outlet, McHenry Meadows, set to open in spring, will feature energy-efficient homes equipped with solar panels and smart home technology. This initiative reflects a growing trend among home builders to meet consumer demand for environmentally friendly living spaces, and could potentially influence similar projects in nearby regions. Shifting focus to the broader Chicagoland area, the downtown commercial real estate market is grappling with the consequences of remote work trends. Per a story in the Chicago Business Journal, office vacancy rates have climbed to unprecedented levels as companies continue to offer work-from-home options. This situation presents challenges for building owners, pushing them to rethink space utilization and tenant incentives. These changes underscore the evolving nature of workspaces in the post-pandemic era. On a national scale, the United States housing market is experiencing a notable transition. According to a report by the National Association of Realtors, the nationwide supply of homes is slowly increasing, which may start to ease competition among buyers. However, prices remain elevated due to decade-high construction costs and persistent demand. Industry analysts suggest potential buyers should be prepared for ongoing price fluctuations as the market works toward a balance between supply and demand. Our top stories are brought to you by the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty. That's it for now. We now
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County
Unlocking Lake County
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Welcome back to Weird But True in Lake County, where we dive into the bizarre, baffling, and sometimes bizarrely beautiful stories right from our own backyard. Today, we've stumbled upon a strange slice of history from our very own Lake County. Did you know that Lake County was once home to the product of an electrifying competition that shocked the world? That's right. Back in the 1890s, the electric age was dawning, and Lake County found itself caught up in the epic battle of the currents between Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. The rivalry was known as the War of the Currents. Edison was a staunch advocate for direct current, or DC, while Tesla championed alternating current, or AC. And here's where it gets really interesting. As part of an effort to promote their favored forms of electricity, both inventors staged elaborate demonstrations across the country, right here in Illinois. Lake County was one of the chosen spots to showcase the power and safety of Tesla's AC system. Legend has it that Tesla himself might have visited the area during this electrifying period to ensure that his currents were sparking the right kind of interest. It's crazy to think that our quiet community was once part of a global scientific showdown, shaping history in a truly electrifying way. So, the next time you flip on a light switch, remember Lake County's own little piece of electric history in the energized battle that forever changed the world. Brought to you by the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage. Sly and his team can be reached at 847-722-1775. Stay weird, stay curious, and join us again next time for more Weird But True in Lake County.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
Welcome back, Lake County. This is Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here with a whole studio full of guests. I've got with me, of course, Sly Marinca.
Hello, hello.
And special guest in the studio is Robert Seminary, a candidate for Lake County Park Mayor.
Hello.
And we've got the current supervisor from Antioch Township, Tom Shaughnessy.
Hello, everybody.
And
Glad
his
to
son.
be here.
Oh, glad to have you. And his son, Brian.
Hey now.
Hey now. You a Howard fan?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I listened to Howard for years.
Well, I canceled my subscription. He said a couple things that I didn't agree with. He got a little weird.
Gone
So,
haywire, huh?
But I used to love listening to him all the time.
Yeah, me too. I think I stopped listening in 2014, 2016, I think, somewhere around there. But anyway, I still thought he was entertaining. I think he changed his style quite a bit, over time. He became a little bit more like, it's not the same Howard I remember.
Yeah, he's a great interviewer for sure.
He sure was. Not as good as that, who's that, the host here in Lake County has
Dick
a show.
Barr.
That's
There
him,
you
yeah. Actually, he's 10 times better than me. I really suck. So, guys, just warning you, this is a conversation. I want you to be you. I don't want you to feel any pressure. It's not like thousands of people are listening to you who are wondering if they should vote for you or not, and that you can just say or do something that will screw that up. Don't worry about any of that.
Nope.
Just kidding, guys. This is actually just a friendly show. Just be you. Talk about yourselves. Robert, I'm going to start with you. So tell me a little bit about yourself. How long have you lived in the area?
I moved out here in 1991.
91. Okay, beat me by 14 years. Where'd you come from?
Came from Lombard, Illinois. Prior to that was Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin,
Yeah,
huh?
raised on a farm in Wisconsin.
You're not a Packers fan, are you?
I'm afraid I am.
Oh, no! Okay.
Somebody's going to kill me when I get home. But
Can we start a recall election now?
let's put it this way. I stand out.
Yeah, you do. Hey, listen, I don't blame you. Hey, you know what? If you like winning, why not?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Hey, Tom, can you do me a favor?
Yep.
Can you turn around? And there's a light switch on that wall. I want you to press it once to turn the lights off. Now I want you to double click it to turn the lights on bright. I want to get some more light on Robert's face. Oh, that's beautiful.
That's
Thanks,
what you
Tom.
need, yeah.
Tom, you're really skilled at that. Have you ever thought about going
Very
into maybe
talented.
making a career of it? Okay, Robert, so you came from Lombard. You unfortunately became a Packers fan.
Yeah.
What else bad about you should we know before we vote?
Well, I've got 3 kids, 3 grandchildren. I own Allied Central Security. I started that in 1982.
Can you tell us about that?
We do burglar and fire alarms, card access for police and fire stations. I got the majority of them out here, including CENTCOM. Got over 1,100 customers now.
Wow.
Yeah, started in '82 and been in the trade for 55 years.
55 years.
Wow.
So is it mostly government contracts?
No, it started out just doing residential. Then I went to commercial. And then when 2008 hit, we almost lost everything. So I go after business that's going to be here tomorrow. So I went after government.
That's smart.
And here we are.
Oh, that's smart. Now, is government the primary focus, or do you still do like commercial?
I do everything, yeah.
You still do everything?
Yeah, I do it all, yeah.
Okay, and this is camera systems.
Cameras, card access, swipe card when you come into the building.
Oh.
Your burglar and fire alarms, smoke detectors and everything. So we do that.
Oh, okay. So what about sprinkler systems? Yeah, is that
No,
part of it?
we don't do that. No.
Thank you.
We monitor it. We don't do
Thank
that.
you, sir. Thank you for not contributing to the problem.
I've seen it at its best, and I've seen it at its worst.
Yeah, right. Okay, so you're a business owner. Been a business owner. You've been in this industry for 50 plus years. You've lived here since 1991.
Right.
Okay, so why are you running?
I like competition, and I like challenges.
Okay.
My main reason is I've lived here, and I look at Main Street, and it's just, and I hate to say that because I live here, it's an eyesore. Probably wrong words to use, but there's been no change. We had money to rebuild it, and it just seems like it's going back to the old ways.
Really?
And through my course here, of talking to people, I associate with the American Legion, the Park Inn, and you look at the count of the people that used to come here are no longer coming here. I'm trying to figure out why. So then you campaign out in Saddlebrook and you talk to over 1,000 people, and they never even heard of downtown Round Lake Park. So you invite them down here for breakfast, and they've lived here for 25 years, and it's the first time they're coming down here for breakfast. So they don't even know it exists down here. So we got to change things around a little bit. Trying to merge 3 different entities together, bringing Saddlebrook together with Timber Creek and with our town proper. Everybody needs to know what's going on.
So does Round Lake Park kind of have like a separation then? So does Saddlebrook think it's its own thing, and Round Lake Park think it's its own thing?
Exactly. However, out in Saddlebrook, they vote, and they write the destiny around Lake Park.
Is that right? So they're the big voting block.
Exactly. So
okay.
What I want to do is move the board meeting out to Saddlebrook, so they can see what's happening in town. Also, give them their opinion to make choices for us.
Are you looking to do that like on a permanent basis?
Yes.
Or no? So
Yes.
every meeting?
Not every meeting. There's 3 meetings a month. One of the meetings is going to be out in Saddlebrook now.
Oh, okay.
Do they have a facility there to
They
do
do.
that?
They have a lake house.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I
that's...
got a feeling I'm going to pack the house. So.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, Saddlebrook it's a combination of people from the area, but also a lot of people from outside of the area, right? Yeah.
It's like snowbirds.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. So some people don't know much about the Round Lake area at all to begin with, right? So
That is very true.
could introduce them to a whole new
And that's what I'm
aspect.
trying to do, bring these people together. But you got to respect that they're in a private community as well. So I can't interfere, invade their privacy, where they can come down and visit us in town.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So what are the other big issues that you think need to be addressed?
Well, we want to get rid of vehicle stickers. That was a way to get into the door, so an attraction to get into the door. I can't see a feasible permit other than reasonable for a Saddlebrook resident or a regular resident to have a sticker and never use the beach, even though it cleans up the beach and everything else. I get that. Provides the lifeguard. I understand all that, but there's other ways of making money. Half the time, people don't even come to the beach or know where the beach is, but live in Round Lake Park.
Okay.
So vehicle stickers is one. Nepotism was another one. Hiring family. So I'm trying to eliminate that.
Okay.
And we're doing pretty well at it.
Okay. So what are you plan to do day one? You get elected. What are you going to do day one?
Day one, the first thing we're going to do is terminate the building inspector.
Oh. Okay.
A letter of apology would be nice to the residents, but I don't think that's going to come. And then revise your inspection fees. God knows it's a big issue right now, but everything should be compatible to the county and to the surrounding suburbs.
Okay. I do know that Round Lake Park's got one of those. We're one of the few communities left in the county where, in order to sell your house, you have to go through a village inspection, a complete village inspection, regardless of whether there was already a home inspection done. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that should be provided by your home inspector that the buyer provides.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay.
I'm not in favor of it. So
Okay. I mean, as a realtor, I would tend to agree with you, but yeah, so it's good just to know the policy. I know back, you see that a lot? You see that a lot in like Western Chicago suburbs, like Cicero, Maywood, and they charge those ridiculous transfer stamp fees by the community, just money grabs.
Yep.
Some of those communities, they even make you put down huge bonds. If you're buying a rehab property in like Maywood, sometimes you have to they'll estimate the cost of repair, and you have to put a bond for the entire amount down for the repair to be able to buy a rehab home down there.
Agreed.
I love that Lake County, we're not like that.
Yeah.
Very few communities in Lake County even have transfer stamps, which is a huge plus. So kudos to all the governments who've realized that you shouldn't have to pay for your right to sell your own home. That's just ridiculous. It's just another way to get more tax. And then Beach a couple of years ago. So Beach used to have the home inspection process when you bought and sold. But I know when Mayor Nichols came in, he looked at it and he had his staff look at it and he said, well, if the buyer is paying a professional home inspector
Exactly what I think.
to find out what's wrong with the house, what needs to be upgraded, what needs to be fixed, and a bona fide negotiation occurs between the buyer and the seller, and competent adult decisions are made. I mean, who's the village to step in and say, well, no, you can't, sell that because, there's I did have this once about, 7 years ago, where the inspector was going to tie up the closing because the roof was missing a shingle. It had blown off in the wind, and they were going to not cancel the entire closing, but delay the entire closing, which could be problematic in our business.
Sure.
Small things could have a butterfly effect that lead to much bigger problems.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you said there's other ways to get revenue. Do you have any things on the top of your head you're ready to spit out?
Well, I'm going to use one of their opponents, one of my opponents, Karen Eggert. She's got a thought about your video gambling. That's for money coming in. I agree with her 100% but I would say there's too many of those licenses out.
Yeah.
And I think if you're going to open a video gambling, you should have a restaurant with it or something where somebody comes down to visit. I got to get attraction to downtown, period.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ways of doing it. But it's Karen Eggert's idea. I'm just running with it. So
you like it. You like the idea.
I like the
You
idea.
agree with it. Yeah, and to me it makes sense too, because when you have a kind of a dilapidated area, and if the attraction is just a gaming where you can get a sandwich and a beer, is it really attracting
attractive
people
to the owner
downtown?
of the
Sure.
bar,
Yeah, and I get that. But if you're trying to pretty up a place, having a destination makes more sense to me.
Well, if you take a look and you go down and patronize our customers, and you look at the vending machines there, not vending, the video machines that are there, they're empty.
Are they?
There's just too many of them.
Oh, okay.
On occasion, on a Friday or Saturday, they're packed. I get it. There's a party. I get it, yes. But during the week, there's nobody there.
See, now I do agree that, so when the gaming first came in, I'm not debating you, Robert, because I kind of agree with
And
you.
I apologize, because I work with the gaming board to do the cameras for them. But
Right.
I'm just telling you what I see.
I know gaming has been a lifesaver for a lot of business, especially on the chain. You guys know this. Antioch, Grand Township, Lake Villa Township. It was huge. It was needed. But gaming represented a small portion of your total revenues, because your big revenues were coming in from your bar service and food if you had it. But I kind of agree with you. If it's just a pop-up shop to have gaming just by having a couple of dry, stale beers sitting on the shelf that no one ever buys, is that really the purpose of what it was put in for? I kind of like the idea of limiting, so you give places like actual full-service bars and full-service restaurants the ability to not have it watered down to the purpose point where it's of no use anymore.
And I believe Scott Nichols is doing the same thing in the
Same
beach.
exact thing.
But Jerry Daly was the one that started with have a restaurant or something. Something go with it. So that's his ideas too. So
Okay.
which is good. The vehicle stickers, those I got to clarify. These are for cars, motorcycles, and RVs, small trucks. The big trucks, we're still going to keep the vehicle stickers.
Well, that's good. A great idea.
So we're not losing all the revenue.
Because you guys get a lot of big truck traffic there, don't you?
There's
Through
a lot of truck
Groot
traffic.
and
Yeah,
is that Groot or Waste Management?
no, that's Groot.
It's Groot. Okay. Okay. What else? What else can you tell the everyday listener? What's a good reason that you would be a good person to hold that position?
I'm a leader. I started with nothing, and I created something. I'm looking through my own business. I believe in working hand in hand and staying in contact with people, and that people are going to see that I'm a man of my word. I've gained a lot of confidence. I've talked to over 1,000 people from Saddlebrook in the last 3 months. It's amazing.
Wow.
This whole election that instead of me going out to them, they're coming to me, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be the type of mayor that's going to hear you. Not that you got to call me mayor when I walk down the street. I could care less.
Do you have a
about
sash?
There.
Stash.
Just so they know who I am.
Yeah.
And that's all. I want to communicate with them. And I told them whether I win or lose, I'm going to join some of their things. Saddlebrook, get Timber Creek cleaned up, get our town cleaned up.
Yeah.
Just unite everybody. Try to. I like dealing with people.
Yeah.
As I told you before, I have 1,100 customers. I know everyone by their first name. I know exactly what they pay per month, and because I stayed in communication with them.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting faulting any mayors. It's just you got better things to do, whatever. But just stay in contact. Listen to people. They want to be heard.
Yeah, that's a big thing in any office. You mentioned Timber Creek. I'm not familiar with it. What is that?
It's a trailer
okay.
community, and I think they're forgotten back there.
Okay.
It's just to me they're treated like Main Street. They just forgotten about. They take their rent and we go and we do their thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of voters back there. There's a lot of people back there. A lot of ideas back there.
Yeah.
I met them when I had our meet and greet at the American Legion, and it's just a different class of people from what I'm dealing with. Then you go to Saddlebrook, which seems to be the top of the list, and then you come down to our town, and we're just mediocre.
Okay.
So I mean, we got 3 different things to put together, and that's what I want to do. That was my challenge, and that's what I'm going to do.
I used to go to the VFW quite often. In fact, I still go there every month. I'm a part of the State Line Rifle Association, and we have our monthly meetings there at the VFW. It's a good time. We go there, we sit in the back room, we talk business, then we come out and hang around. I gotta say, over the past 4 or 5 years, I've noticed, and who knows, maybe this is COVID, but I've noticed a big reduction in
COVID did play, but going back to 2009, we had a big election with Isla Bauer. The place was packed. I mean, it was wall to wall. Through the course of the years now, we have maybe 2, 3, 4 people during the week go through. I don't go there every day, but I go there a lot.
Yeah.
People have been very good to me, so I try to patronize there. So.
What ideas do you have to bring people downtown and reinvite?
To show that we exist is what I want to. Well, we're going to clean up downtown to begin with. It's a dream. There's been nothing put together, but I'd like to see the buildings wrecked and new ones constructed. It costs money. You got to spend money to make money. I get that. I want to put a new police station up and start with that, with a new structure. So when they come into town, they see something that's worthwhile. Inviting Saddlebrook to come down to Round Lake Park.
If you get some patronage, increased patronage, that's going to help
businesses. Whether it's a
businesses.
breakfast or a bingo or a lightning night, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we got so many Mexican restaurants that they go to food trucks. I'm not putting food trucks down, especially because my opponent drives one. I trust the opponent. Come to see what we got to offer.
Okay.
The food is good. The people are friendly. But we live differently than we do on the South.
Okay.
Just trying to merge the 3 entities together.
And the 3
my main
entities
concern.
being Park, Timber, and Saddlebrook.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And keeping the privacy of Saddlebrook to them.
Makes sense. That's why they go there, right?
Exactly.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. Robert, you able to stick around when we come back?
I am.
Okay, great. And then we'll do a quick bit, and then we're going to segue over to the Shaughnessy. I was going to say Shaughnessy brothers, but no, the Shaughnessy father and son team.
Thanks.
But am I saying you look young or you look old?
I think I'm going to take it from my side.
You know what? I'm going to go with you. You look old because but first thing Brian said when he came into the studio, he says, "Dick, you got a wonderful face for radio." Love you too, Brian, but it's true. We'll be right back. Or maybe not. There we go.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's the best station on the radio.
It's time for the weather.
This weather update is brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company. Nothing but sunny skies this afternoon, with gentle breezes from the east to keep things interesting. As night falls, it cools down with mostly clear skies, so you might feel a chill in the air. Now tomorrow, we're in for another sunny day as temperatures flirt with the mid-50s and a light breeze continues. Enjoy it.
Unlocking Lake County.
98.3 The Life.
It's time for Unlocking This Day in History, brought to you by Harder and Shotland Law Firm in Round Lake Beach. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened today. Today's tale is all about a peculiarly puzzling occurrence that once left the residents of Waukegan, right here in Lake County, scratching their heads. Did you know that back in the early 1990s, Waukegan was mysteriously inundated with what some called poltergeist potholes? For a curious 2-week period, potholes seemed to be materializing out of nowhere overnight. Despite the fact that crews filled them in every evening, locals swore just as many new ones would appear by morning. Citizens even joked that the potholes had a mind of their own. One elderly resident claimed, "I've never seen anything like it. You'd think they had legs." The story spread like wildfire, with theories bouncing around everything from secret underground tunnels to mischievous gophers and even otherworldly mischief. Finally, as suddenly as it began, the mystery subsided. Roads were patched up and drivers sighed with relief. Though theories continue to this day, no one has ever truly cracked the case of Waukegan's poltergeist potholes.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Here's the top stories in real estate today. First, in a significant development for residential construction, a report from the National Association of Home Builders shows a rise in new home construction starts in September. Experts attribute this growth to increased demand and limited existing home inventory. Builders across the United States are working to keep up with buyer interest, despite challenges like high material costs and labor shortages. Shifting our focus to the local real estate market, a report from the Cook County Assessor's Office indicates that property tax assessments might rise next year. The increase is due to county-wide reevaluations meant to accurately reflect property values after a robust summer sales season. Homeowners in Cook County are advised to review their assessments to understand how this might impact their property taxes moving forward. Meanwhile, in Lake County, a new affordable housing project is making headlines. According to a recent story in the Daily Herald, a 100-unit development aimed at providing low-income families with affordable living options has been approved by the county planners. This initiative is part of a broader strategy to address housing affordability issues in the Chicago suburban area. The development is expected to break ground by early next year. Additionally, there are exciting changes happening in commercial real estate. Per a story in Commercial Real Estate News, the trend of converting empty office spaces into multifamily housing continues to gain traction, especially in downtown Chicago. As companies embrace remote work, several high-profile buildings are undergoing renovations to repurpose office spaces into residential units, aiming to meet the growing demand for urban living. Lastly, in a stride towards sustainability, a recent update from the Chicagoland Real Estate Development Association highlights a notable increase in eco-friendly building practices. Developers in McHenry County are increasingly incorporating green technologies into new construction projects. These practices not only aspire to reduce environmental impact, but also aim to attract environmentally conscious buyers looking for energy-efficient homes. Our top stories are brought to you by the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty. That's it for now. We now return you back to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You guys have a great radio station. You just play the best music.
Welcome back, folks. It's time for another exciting installment of Weird But True in Lake County. Are you ready to be amazed by the uncanny oddities lurking right in our backyard? Today's tale is all about a peculiarly puzzling occurrence that once left the residents of Waukegan, right here in Lake County, scratching their heads. Did you know that back in the early 1990s, Waukegan was mysteriously inundated with what some called poltergeist potholes? For a curious 2-week period, potholes seemed to be materializing out of nowhere overnight. Despite the fact that crews filled them in every evening, locals swore just as many new ones would appear by morning. Citizens even joked that the potholes had a mind of their own. One elderly resident claimed, I've never seen anything like it. You'd think they had legs. The story spread like wildfire, with theories bouncing around everything from secret underground tunnels to mischievous gophers and even otherworldly mischief. Finally, as suddenly as it began, the mystery subsided. Roads were patched up and drivers sighed with relief. Though theories continue to this day, no one has ever truly cracked the case of Waukegan's poltergeist potholes. Sometimes it seems Lake County holds its secrets just under our feet. That's just one of the weird and wonderful stories from our community. Remember, if you've got a strange story from Lake County, we want to hear about it. This quirky segment is brought to you by the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage. Sly and his team can be reached at 847-722-1775. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep those eyes peeled for anything unusually true in your neighborhood. Stay weird, Lake County.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
Welcome back, Lake County. This is your host, Dick Barr, here with Unlocking Lake County. Back in the studio is Sly Marinca. Say hello.
Hello, hello.
And we're thank you for staying behind for a little more conversation. Robert Seminary,
Thanks,
candidate
Dick.
for
Appreciate it.
our pleasure. And our special guest, the one that you've come to hear for the second hour, is Antioch Township Supervisor Tom Shaughnessy.
Thanks for having me, Dick.
Oh, my pleasure. And your son, Brian.
Hey there.
For those who don't know, Brian could probably be seen somewhere on Blarney Island any time of the summer. And he said, anyone who wants a boat ride's free to come.
Boat ride, maybe a free drink, a shot at JMO, something like that.
He's kidding. So it's the FCC, we can't say the word free. Sorry.
Yeah, nothing free.
Right? Exactly. So let me switch over. Let me get your video here, Tom. Okay. So we're going to start the same way. This is very conversational. I just ask, keep this about Tom Shaughnessy, keep this about Antioch, your vision, and stuff like that. But, let's get started. Where are you from?
I was raised in Berwyn, Illinois.
So you're one of those western suburbs with the crazy inspections.
Yes, I was. My mother actually worked in Maybrook, so you mentioned that earlier. She was a circuit court clerk there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we moved out here in 1978. We've got 4 children. They were all raised here. We got 6 grandchildren in the area.
Did any of them turn out good?
I think this first one, that's why I brought him along.
I broke the mold. The oldest.
So you're out here in 78, 4 kids. Go ahead, sorry.
Right. Brian's the oldest, and now we have our youngest grandchild is a junior in high school.
Oh.
And so we've had 6 grandchildren go through Antioch High School and all the great schools there. The kids all moved out. They went. 3 of them went to college. 1 went to the Air Force. My youngest son is Dan. Dan is went into the Air Force. He's an Air Force vet. He spent his last tour was in Alaska, and he decided to stay in Alaska for about 8 to 10 years. He became a fireman in the North Pole and an EMT.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And so he came back here after about 7, 8 years up in Alaska and became a fireman down in Berwyn and stayed there for almost 15 years now. And now he just moved out to Colorado, and he's working in a fire department out in Oak Creek, Colorado, starting up a new fire department there.
Now that sounds like an interview I want to have. Any way you can get him on the show?
He comes back regularly. So,
yeah. That's awesome. So he was doing firefighting at the North Pole.
Yes.
What is there to burn? Ice?
Actually, they have a lot of forest fires in Alaska.
Really?
Yeah. And there's a lot of remote villages and things. So he became an EMT. He was a fireman, obviously. But they used to have money available to be able to bring fire equipment and life-saving equipment to these remote villages. So he would fly out in a helicopter with his crew. They bring this equipment out, teach the people in the village how to save themselves should they have an emergency. So that was pretty cool stuff too. A lot of forest fire work too.
That's neat. These villages, are they like indigenous people?
Yes, they were, as far as I know.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Oh, that's super, super interesting. Okay, so you got through the family, you got through the kids. What have you done for a living all this time?
For 41 years, I worked for Rose Packing Company, a meat company out of Barrington, Illinois. The plant was down near Midway Airport. I was director of national accounts. I handled Burger King and McDonald's globally. We supplied Burger King their sliced ham and their pork sausage, and McDonald's their Canadian bacon throughout the world. One of the interesting things is we did sell Canadian bacon to Canada. I don't know with the tariffs going on now if that would still be continuing, but
so that's interesting. So what, like, the Egg McMuffin or something was always Canadian bacon, right?
Yes.
I don't like Canadian bacon. No offense, sorry, Tom. And I hate when you order an Egg McMuffin, you ask for bacon on it. They put the Canadian bacon on it. Like, who asks for bacon and expects a kind of a rubbery slab of ham on it? Am I the only one?
Well, you have to have a sausage, or you can get a sausage biscuit, or you can do a bacon biscuit, but you don't have a bacon Egg McMuffin. There's a Canadian bacon Egg McMuffin. That's how I fed my family and brought them here.
Put me through college.
Yeah.
Those Egg McMuffins.
That's awesome. And now they have the McGriddles. So the McGriddles, they're competing with your Canadian bacon there. There's no Canadian bacon McGriddle.
Yeah, that was an interesting story. When I worked the product development group at McDonald's brought in about 50 different guys, 10 different companies, 5 people from each company, put us together in groups. And everybody brought their wares to show them what they could bring for breakfast ideation. Everybody did some kind of form of a pigs and blanket, and that's where the generation of the the McGriddle started. The Pillsbury guys brought in pancakes that were infused with maple syrup.
Yeah,
and that's what started. That was the bread carrier. And we had our sausage on it and did our Canadian bacon on it. And the Canadian bacon didn't hit, but the sausage did.
Yeah. So. Now, so I get to ask you, because I swear McDonald's breakfast sandwiches are addictive.
Are addictive?
Yeah.
Especially the Egg McMuffin.
The Egg McMuffin,
bacon.
absolutely. Right. They're not addictive for me. I can pass on those. But the sausage, and there's something about it. You're driving past the McDonald's, and you're like, I'm not going to go. Okay, I'm going. It just kind of like, the wheel turns itself to go in there. Is there anything that they put in to make it more addictive?
No, it's one of the best run companies I ever worked with.
Really?
Yeah, everybody thinks, well, they're always cutting corners, trying to do things on the cheap. They did just the opposite.
I think
they had
that's
the highest
true.
Quality products that we dealt with.
I kind of believe that. Like, you look at a quarter pounder today compared to what it was even 20 years ago. Like, a quarter pounder today is thick, it's juicy. Usually, if you get it fresh, whereas some of the other stuff just kind of dry. I don't know. It feels like you sometimes chewing horse leather. But we didn't come to talk about what makes me fat.
Right.
We came to talk about, Tom, you've been there since 2017 as supervisor?
Yes, as supervisor since 2017. I was a trustee 4 years before that.
You were trustee before that?
Right.
Okay. So have you done any major actions that you're proud of that you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah. I think we've accomplished quite a bit in the 7 years that I've been supervisor. When I first got into office, I realized that we had to take a look at the services. Everybody looks at are we duplicitous in any of the services that we're offering. So we started looking around. The main thing was the village and the township were both doing senior service programming, kind of half-assed on both. I don't know if I can say that or not, but a half-assed approach to handling senior services. So we met with the village to see how we can get one Antioch together. It's not just the township and the village; it is actually one community, one Antioch. Yeah. So we looked at it from that perspective, so we could try to spend the tax dollars wisely and improve the services for seniors, because seniors' population with the baby boomers and everything else is growing, and that age group is really ballooning, and there wasn't a lot of services that we were offering. So we looked at what we could do. They had a senior center in town, and we had one out in our co-op office building out in Lake Villa, and we decided that we only had a room and a half in each area, and to be able to do any kind of programming at one time, we needed a bigger facility. So that's basically what we were looking at. In 2020, we tried a referendum. 2022, we tried a referendum to put a new community center out on North Avenue. It failed. But it was a $16.1 million referendum. Voted down 2 out of 3. Nobody wants any additional taxes in the county. But that was an additional mortgage that we tried. What we found there was doing a survey that the community wanted to have a more amenities. They wanted to have more space to do different programming and activities, but we didn't have the space in the building that we were in. So we looked at what we were a part of. We were part of a co-op that owned the building. Actually, years ago, Tim Osmond did a phenomenal job of getting together grant monies to be able to invest in the community center building that we had with Lake Villa and District 117 to put up a building in 2000, and I think they put it up in 2003. But we put $1.3 million into that building in 2003. Lake Villa put in $600,000, and the high school brought the property to the dance. So we put the building up in 2003, and the three of us shared that building. Lake Villa shared the fields on the outside for their athletic programs.
Yep.
District 117 and Antioch Township shared the administrative building. We had 47% of the building, so we shared the expenses. We had 47% of all the expenses. The high school had 23.5%, and so did Lake Villa, as far as the operational expenses of the co-op. We invested that money in 2003, and when we found that we needed to consolidate services, we decided to look. We did that referendum; it failed, and we said, "Look, since that failed, where else can we look and put in under one roof? Can we all do all these services instead of having one in the village and one in the township?" So we looked around at all the vacant properties that were in the area. We looked at St. Peter's, the Santiago building. We looked at Landoff. We looked at a number of different other vacant buildings in the area, and St. Stephen's Church was another one. We chose Faith Lutheran Church. It was built in 1956. It had 8 classrooms. It had a community center. It had all the amenities that we wanted to have in a new building, except that it was old.
Right.
So we had to figure out what we could do. We ended up buying that building for $695,000 versus a $16.1 million building.
Very good.
We do have to make, there's some amenities we have to add and some things we have to do to bring it up to code. An ADA accessible entrance is one, and then remodeling some of the classrooms and things into more activity rooms.
See, what I hear is, there's an adage in my business. We say everyone wants to die. Everyone wants to get to heaven, but they don't want to die first, right? And that's kind of like what you've got to deal with in politics is everyone wants the amenities, but nobody wants to pay for them. So it sounds like you found a way to potentially provide the amenities while saving a significant, what you say, 15.5 at a $16 million.
Yeah. Well, we put in the building that we were in, the way the IGA is an intergovernmental agreement that the three of us were part of, and the investment we had 23 years ago was $1.3 million. The way the IGA was written, the 3 members of the IGA of the co-op would share equally in the value of the building, not of the property, but of the value of the building, which is a very important part. It was being carried on the audit in 2023 or 2022 audit at $2.1 million was the value of the building. Replacement value was $4 million, but that's not important. The actual audited depreciated value of the building was 2.1. Our share of that 2.1, you would have thought a 1/3 share would have been $700,000. So we were trying to use that share to be able to take that equity in that building and move it into another location that we could do all these services in one roof. The senior services, the assessor's office, our corporate office, or our township office rather, and also be able to grow into future programming like teen rec basketball and teen programs, which we were kind of lacking in Antioch, trying to service those needs for that age group 13 to 20.
Okay.
There's a lot of things for younger kids, but we don't have anything for that age group. So that's kind of a niche that we were trying to do.
Now, I heard you say 2 words that just reminded me that not everyone listening knows what the township does. You said seniors and you said youth. Can you tell every listener, because especially people who live in incorporated areas, sometimes they don't realize why is the township here? Mm-hmm. What are the responsibilities of the township?
Township, first of all, is a general assistance and emergency assistance. That's one of our first duties, I say, is the right way to say that. The other one is parks, and the other one is senior services. Those are the main things that we provide.
And specifically parks because as it relates to youth, right? Because youth is one of the central components.
Right. And it's also, it's one that we were able to, a number of years ago, in 2000, we built Tim Osmond's sports complex. Tim Osmond did a great job. He was a township supervisor and then became state representative. He knew exactly how to use the system to the advantage. He did a phenomenal job of getting us the money. They built Tim Osmond Park. In 2003, it was completed. We had an IGA with the village as far as operating the Tim Osmond Sports Complex. It went under a little bit of disrepair for a number of years. And when I got involved in 2017, we started looking at the OSLID grant money that had been given to us to develop, and it had to be spent on parks and was sitting in the bank just doing nothing. So we took that money and cleaned up and rejuvenated Tim Osmond Sports Complex, where now it's one of the jewels of Antioch. It is very, very, very well received. That was a stepping stone to move into our latest park, which is Vern Thielen Park, which we built in the southwest end of the township. It's not even the south end. It's west end of Antioch. Grass Lake in 59, near Bootleggers down Rena Avenue there. We have 30 acres that we've had for some 20 years. Our first phase, we were able to get a $600,000 as OSLID grant again to be able to develop that property. We developed the first 6 acres with six pickleball courts, 2 outside volleyball courts, and an outside basketball court to be able to get into that teen programming and teen rec activities. That park will be opening up, phase 1 will be opening up March 23rd of this year. So
cool.
Getting ready to play some paddle ball.
Grand opening.
And we'll get to that just one second, but I was looking at the Forest Preserve's agenda for today. It looks like the Forest Preserve is voting today, or may have already done so today, to purchase that 34 acres of land just south of the Vern Thielen Park.
Yeah, I thought that it was already accomplished. They go kind of a conservation area.
I don't know the use of what they're planning to do. I don't know if it's just kind of rehab of the the indigenous plants or not. But it was on the board agenda to vote for this morning.
Okay, and that is adjacent to our property. As a matter of fact, it looks out over part of the chain and also a bird rookery, which we're on our phase 2 of Vern Thielen Park are going to build a sled hill that'll have an overlook area that'll be looking out over the chain and also looking out over the rookery.
Huh.
So, and that'll border right up against the Forest Preserve's property.
Yeah, well, that's cool. So Brian mentioned the grand opening for Vern Thielen Park. When is that?
That's going to be Sunday the 23rd between 1 and 3 o'clock.
And what can people expect if they go there?
Well, we're going to have some people playing paddleball, some people playing basketball and volleyball, and show everybody how the amenities can be used. We're going to have sign-up registrations for leagues that will want to participate in outdoor basketball for the kids and outdoor volleyball. I think there's going to be a battle over the paddleball courts. I don't know what age group is going to win on that, but I think we've been all kinds of calls about paddleball.
Is it paddle or pickle?
Paddle.
It's paddleball. Okay.
Pickleball.
Oh, pickleball. Okay. Because if it's pickleball,
there is paddle too.
Yes, there is, and that's why I wanted to confirm.
Yeah,
they're similar.
If it's pickleball, I know who's winning the fight.
It is pickleball.
Yeah, it's all the boomers. They dominate that sport. Yeah.
2 steps and tap.
Yeah.
2 steps and tap.
Yeah, I mean it's all the rage, and I think Lakevilla's putting in some pickleball. The idea is to put in some pickleball also too through the township. Does Antioch have a park district per se?
No, we do not. Most people think there is one. We have a park committee, and the village has their park and rec committee. That was one of the things that when we looked at senior services, the park and recs department of the village was handling their senior services, and our park committee was handling ours. Our senior committee was handling
just
ours.
Duplicating it.
Right, and it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah. So we had Dan Venturi in just a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now. He was our first supervisor to come in, just kind of talk, because he's running for election as well. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I do appreciate is if you look at all your surrounding communities that have official park districts, the tax levy for them is it's enormous. It's one of the largest line items on the bill. And I always found, because I'm in Lake Villa Township, what Lake Villa Township has done is to be able to provide those services and amenities and activities and spaces to the community without having a formalized park district. And I think that's a great use, because the smallest item on my bill is my township tax bill. And to be able to get all of that, like, 'cause I love Caboose Park. One of my favorites, the toboggan run down, and all these different avenues where the kids can gather. We're in real estate. There's a 1, 2, 3 people here in real estate. We know how important parks are. It's important for development. It's important for maintaining home values. It's important for selling. Families looking to come in. What is the first thing they ask you? Are there parks? So having a robust park district that doesn't have its own tax levy, I think, is an important thing for the public to know.
One of the things that was addressed back in 2003 when we built up the Tim Osmond Sports Complex was the idea was to establish a park co-op, a 501(c) non-for-profit park co-op that the village and the township would work together on shared expenses.
Yeah.
That 501(c) non-for-profit would be able to go out and solicit grant money, would be able to solicit donations from individuals, any way that we get any different funds to be able to build and maintain the parks without having to go to another taxing entity.
Yeah.
We tried back in 1988 and 89 to pass a referendum for a park district referendum. It failed miserably back then.
Yeah.
That was,
today, when it was easy.
Yeah, when it was easier then to do that. And there was a lot of federal and state money on the board at that time that we just turned our eyes to. Yeah, it's too bad it never happened back then. But now we're trying to do what best we can with trying to get grant money and all the funding, and trying to shave as many corners as we can on operational expenses.
Speaking of operational, your assessor's office is in a retail location, right? Yeah. Is there room for them in the new township center?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that we were looking at as a consolidated service. That's about a $25,000 a year operation. They're in a little strip mall right now. We had grown out of the building we were in. The building was great 20 years ago, but as your family grows and as things evolve, you need more space. The assessor had to move out. They have 5 people in their offices, so he moved out because it was just overcrowded. But our plan is to move him back in. We did sell some general obligation bonds, so we're ready to start the D&D work on the entrances. We'll have 2 separate entrances. One for the assessor will be ground floor with senior parking and handicap parking right next to his door and entrance. That'll also have an entrance into the gymnasium we now have. That'll be done for some of the team programming and volleyball activities indoor during the winter. So the assessor will be moving back in as soon as we can get that done. Okay. And they'll have their own access, and we'll have all the services in one building then.
So basically an instant savings of $25,000 a year just in not paying lease payments.
That one, and then also with the building that we bought now is an appreciable asset versus a depreciation. The building that we were in was depreciating at a value of $25,000 to $35,000 per year.
Uh-huh.
If you do the math from what we put in 23 years ago, we put $1.3 million in because of the IGA agreement that we had with the District 117 in Lake Villa. We ended up getting $400,000 out of the arrangement. So It cost us about $50,000 to $60,000 a year just in depreciating value of the building, as well as $20,000 to $30,000 in operational expenses in the maintenance of that building itself. Now we have a valued building. It's 3.2 acres. It's 22,000 square feet versus 12,000 feet that we had before. So we have a lot of things that we can grow into, and that property will be appreciating in value.
So just so our audience doesn't get confused, Brian, you're a commercial broker by large part, and so you understand. We talk on this show a lot about the importance of when you get into commercial real estate, the importance of a depreciation. It's really helpful when you're a taxpayer.
Yes.
But having a depreciating asset, completely different story. Right. So and that kind of goes back to the disposable building concept, where we buy this building or we build this building, it's $26 million, and then by the time we sell it, we get was selling it for $1 million. Lake Villa, they built a building for $20 million or somewhere around there, and they sold their old building for $1 million, right? So, and I'm sure when they built it, it cost considerably more. Gentlemen, we're going to take one more break. If you guys are all good, you good to stick around for another half hour? We'll kind of get a few more questions for both of you, and then we'll finish up.
It's pickleball, not paddleball.
It's pickleball, not paddleball. Yes. So we got that right. I've never played it though, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know. I enjoy racquetball. I really enjoy racquetball, and I'm glad we have one here around Lake Beach. But we'll be back right after these words.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
Just don't start dropping out bombs.
This is Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
It's time for the weather.
This weather update is brought to you by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company. We've got a sunny afternoon lined up, peaking at a delightful near 50. A gentle east-northeast breeze at 5 miles per hour will keep us company. As night falls, look for mostly clear skies and a dip down to about 30. Our northeast breeze sticks around at the same pace, and come Thursday, sunshine reigns supreme once again. Highs will brush 56, easing slightly to 53 later on, with a bit more pep in the breeze, gusting between 5 and 10 miles per hour from the east-northeast.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County.
Unlocking Lake County
with Dick Barr. 98.3 The Life.
Hello, it's time for Unlocking This Day in History, brought to you by Harder & Shotland Law Firm in Round Lake Beach. Let's take a quick trip back in time to what happened today in history. All right, buckle up because we're zooming back to March 12th, 1894. Hold on to your hats because on this day, Coca-Cola was bottled for the very first time in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Before that, if you wanted a fizzy sip of that secret recipe, you'd have to grab a stool at the soda fountain, old school style. Little did anyone know that this bubbly beverage would be plastered on t-shirts and become a household name across the globe. Who could have imagined? And speaking of big names, jumping forward a bit to March 12th, 1987, are you ready to rock? The musical Les Miserables opened on Broadway. That's right, folks. The epic saga of Jean Valjean, love, rebellion, and redemption, belted its first tune for American audiences on this very date, and it's still packing theaters to this day. Talk about a show that knows how to bring him home. Now, let's time hop a little closer to today. March 12th, 2008, a smashing headline hit. ABC aired the momentous, gritty season 4 finale of Lost. Fans were glued to their screens as they unraveled the island's mystique while munching on microwave popcorn and biting their nails. A captivating series revved up with mystery. We all wanted to ask, where are they now? That's what happened on March 12th through the years, folks. History isn't just in books. Some of it's streaming and fizzy too. We now return you back to Unlocking Lake County with Dick, Kristen, and Sly.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Here's the top stories in real estate today. According to a report from Cook County, the housing market is experiencing an unexpected surge. In September, home sales increased by 15% compared to the previous month. This uptick has been attributed to lower interest rates and a slower inventory turnover, prompting more buyers back into the market. This trend is a promising sign for sellers and could lead to competitive bidding scenarios. Meanwhile, in Lake County, property tax assessments are under scrutiny. Recent reassessments have shown a significant increase in property values, leading to higher tax bills for homeowners. This has sparked concerns among residents, some of whom are challenging their assessments. Local officials are responding by encouraging property owners to attend tax workshops aimed at clarifying the reassessment process and exploring possible avenues for appeal. Over in McHenry County, there's been a focus on sustainable development as local government pushes for eco-friendly construction. A new initiative incentivizes builders to incorporate green building practices by offering tax breaks. The hope is to also attract new residents who prioritize environmentally conscious living. thus boosting the local housing market. This move is part of a broader effort to make the county more resilient to environmental changes. In broader Chicagoland news, a new report highlights the rising trend of converting office spaces into residential units in downtown Chicago. With remote work becoming a norm, demand for traditional office space has decreased. Developers are taking advantage of lower property prices and transforming empty office buildings into high-demand apartments. This adaptive reuse strategy aims to revitalize business districts and meet the growing need for urban housing. Recent story in the real estate sector has been the effects of rising home insurance rates linked to climate change. Extreme weather events like hurricanes and wildfires have increased in frequency and intensity, leading insurers to hike up premiums and, in some cases, withdraw coverage in high-risk areas. Homeowners are urged to reassess their insurance policies to ensure adequate coverage as new challenges arise in safeguarding residential properties. Our top stories are brought to you by the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty. That's it for now. We now return you back to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Your favorite show right here on 98.3 FM.
98.3, The Life.
Welcome to Weird But True in Lake County, the segment that uncovers unusual tales from right here in our own backyard. Today, we're diving headfirst into one of the quirkiest stories Lake County has to offer. Did you know that right in Libertyville, we have our very own piece of Hollywood history? Though it hardly resembles a Tinseltown gem. Libertyville is home to the unusual Cook Memorial Public Library's Library of Things. Now, what's that, you might ask? It's a lending library chock full of the unexpected, ranging from ukuleles to telescopes and even an actual 1960s 16mm film projector. Yes, you heard that right. Tucked away among bookshelves lies this cinematic relic, allowing patrons to borrow and project classic films the old-fashioned way. So, if you're looking to host your own retro movie night, your ticket to nostalgia is right here, ready to be cranked up in your living room. Just imagine showing that off to your friends. It's both impressively peculiar and true. So, if you thought libraries were just for books, Libertyville's Cook Memorial Public Library is here to challenge those assumptions with their Library of Things. Anything from musical exploration to historical movie making, you never know what treasure you might take home next. And now, a message from our sponsor, brought to you by the Sly Marinca team at Cross Country Mortgage. Sly and his team can be reached at 847-722-1775. That's it for today's edition of Weird But True in Lake County. Join us next time as we continue to uncover the eccentric and entertaining stories hiding in plain sight. Who knows what we'll discover next?
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
Welcome back, Lake County. I'm Dick Barr, your host of Unlocking Lake County, here with Sly Marinca.
Hello, hello.
And Tom Shaughnessy, Supervisor of Antioch Township.
Hello.
His son, Brian.
Good afternoon.
And candidate for Round Lake Park Mayor Robert Seminary.
Afternoon.
Guys, thanks for joining us for this remaining time. I understand that I caused some friction. I only focused on some of the men in the family, Tom. So to brag about the daughters a little bit.
Absolutely. We've got both of them are in Antioch. They have Kelly is the older of the two. She has 3 children, Patrick, James, and Kate. Kate is a junior in high school. Patrick is a senior at Iowa, and James is at Florida Gulf Coast University.
Oh, wow.
And Courtney is a mother of 2, Matthew and May. Matthew is a senior at Antioch, and May is a sophomore at Antioch. She's a pitcher on the softball team, and Matthew is going to be graduating and going to Indiana University. Courtney is a creative writer. She has written 2 plays. She's written 14 children's books.
Wow.
She is a global communications director for Hollister right now. She's a very accomplished actress herself. She was in Goodman Theater and Studebaker Theater.
Impressive.
And Kelly works for doctors' organizations to be able to do new marketing programs and that kind of thing. She's been all over the world doing that. She's a very accomplished person as well. She was involved in Antioch cheer and Antioch Viking cheerleading area. I did forget one of my grandchildren, though.
Yeah.
Brian's son, Jack, our oldest grandson. He's going to be 22 here soon.
Oh, wow.
He's at the University of North Dakota. He's going to be a commercial airplane pilot.
Ooh, fantastic.
He should be graduating in what one more year, Brian?
Let's hope it's one more year. Hopefully just one more summer after this semester's over.
Let's hope they start filling up those vacant air traffic control spots.
Yeah, right. For sure.
Well, that's impressive, Robert. Sorry, Tom. That's impressive. My parents couldn't remember me from my sisters and brother, so you got them all. Good for you. That was impressive. You know, one of the things I do like about local politics, and we talk about this, we've been talking about this every week, is it's the closest form of government to us. It's got the most control over what we experience every day. And what's funny about that is the public shows up in just a pittance of a percentage to vote in what I consider to be the most important elections. Yeah. I think what happens in the county, our townships, our municipalities, our libraries, our park districts, that all affects our families specifically, and what we do and experience, and the value of our homes, all of that. Whereas everyone's, we get 60 to 70% turnouts in federal elections, but we don't get local turnout. Why do you think that is, Tom?
That's a real good question. I don't think people there are not a lot of hot button subjects for people to get involved in. I think that's one of the things. I think you did get turnouts periodically when something's really hot in a community.
Like a referendum.
Yeah, something that's very, very hot. And it's amazing some referendums that you would think it would never pass, and some that you think is a no-brainer don't even get close,
Right.
It's really surprising. But you're absolutely right. When I ran in 2017 was the last election, was a consolidated election. I gave up my trustee's position, ran for supervisor, and lost. I lost by 72 votes.
Oh, wow.
There was 3 people running in the elections at that time. One person garnered 550, and I lost by the 72. But I had hundreds of people, not to say hundreds, maybe 100 people come up to me after the election and said, "Gee, this time I didn't vote for you. I thought you had it in the bag." That's right. Why this election is important. You need to get out and vote. If you don't vote, don't tell me you didn't vote. Whatever. I don't want to hear that part. But we need to get the people out there to vote. It's very, very important to be able to continue what we're trying to do here. I'm very excited about what we're doing. I'm extremely excited about our new building. The building that we have is everything that we need to grow into. It does need some remodeling work, but it's in town. We acquired a building that was vacant for 3 years. It was going to be an eyesore, an albatross around the community. We were on the southeast end of the township. We are now in the center of town. We're on Main Street. There's a sidewalk across the street that goes right downtown. We have enough rooms to be able to handle. I think our senior programming in 2015, we had about 500 total people on the list. Half of those were not Antioch Township residents or village residents. The rest were from around surrounding communities. We're now up to 535 registered members, and with that population, with that growing, the number of seniors growing week after week.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Very excited about the programs we have to offer. But I think the big thing is that we're right in town. We didn't spend any additional tax money to get the building. Our goal was to be able to trade dollars from what we had in the co-op building to purchase another building. We came up a little bit short on that with the way the IGAs were written. IGAs are very important. When they're written 23 years ago, they didn't even look at anybody withdrawn. They looked at people being punished for leaving the co-op, not withdrawing for other purposes. So it's one of the things that I didn't mention earlier, but a lot of things that we do. There's the municipal league that has all the mayors, and state representatives and board members. We get together once a month to have a lunch in the area. You bounce ideas off of those mayors and the other guys, get best practices, direction for different things that you want to do. Same thing with the township supervisors. We meet once a month for a luncheon as well. There's 15 of us to get together on a regular basis and kick around ideas. If you don't know how to do something, you ask somebody. They've been down that road before. So I don't know everything. We just completed in January 24 the first ever. What am I talking about here? Our strategic plan. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I went blank on that. I almost said pickleball again. Our strategic plan, because people are saying, well, what are the plans for the community? What are the goals? Where are you going? How are you getting there? So we did surveys. We had 2,000. We had a survey sent out to 2,000 residents. 550 of them responded.
Oh, that's huge.
We had community groups meetings to be able to talk about what the community needed, not only just for parks, but also for all the other services that the township could offer. It was very, very well received, and that's the direction that we're taking. It's not Tom Shaughnessy's plan; it's the township's plan. It's our community plan. It's not the township and the village. It's one community working together for one common goal to service our constituents.
I like hearing that, and that leads me to another point that I like about local politics is that they tend to be, they're not partisan, right? It's community. What's good for the community? What do my constituents need, want? And one of the cool things about township government, it's probably the closest to the people of anyone, because every township resident is a voting member of the township, and that's unique. It doesn't exist anywhere else. So, is there anything else specific you want to share about your future vision of Antioch? Like, what do you hope to leave as a legacy for Antioch?
I think the main thing is one community. I think when you look at Antioch, it is all Antioch. I think you had Dan Venturi on and the other guys. Yeah. You never hear him say the township of Lake Villa and Lake Villa. You always hear Lake Villa.
Yeah.
When I got to be a trustee in 2012, it seemed like it was them against us all the time. Mm-hmm. Them being in the township, them being in the village. They never worked together. That's why when we got in, we started looking at what could we do together to improve services for the entire community. And that's when the first thing we saw was there was this thing going on with the seniors. Let's see if we can address that.
Yeah.
And those are the type of things that I want to make sure that the seniors are taken care of, that we grow back into the legacy part of it. I don't really care about my own legacy or anything that I did. I only think that our community needs to grow and provide the services that they all want. When we get into our community, and I think you see that with most leaders in any community, they start volunteering for things. When I got into community in '78, when he was 6 years old, I got into T-ball. From T-ball, I got into baseball. When I got into baseball, I got into all these different sports activities. You got to meet the people that step up and volunteer and do the things in our community. Watch those guys, what they were doing, what were they involved in. Everything we got involved in at Grass Lake School. We got involved at St. Peter's with ribs and bibs and footlights. We got back in the high school with the football moms and the different programs, the Viking football and the cheerleading programs. All those different volunteer organizations led me to do more and more for our community. I love Antioch. When I was a kid, my dad was in a steel foundry, and we used to come up to Antioch, we used to come up to Volo. We used to go to Bangs Lake.
Oh, yeah.
Bangs Lake. Yeah. I remember on 22 there was a water tower that had an apple on the top of it, an apple orchard. And I still remember coming up there as a little kid and seeing that apple and saying, oh, we're right here. We're going to be at the beach in no time. So I loved the whole lake, the lake area. It was just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any other words you want to close with?
I think this is what we've been able to do with Tim Osmond Sports Complex, with cooperation and collaboration with the village, is phenomenal. I think the growth that you're going to see with Vern Thielen Park is another one that is an amenity that nobody on that side of town has had before. I think it's going to be phenomenal when that happens. And down the road, when we get into more teen programming and rec programming, I think the community center that we have now, the Township Center, will be really appreciated for a very good buy. For $695,000 to be put up that building, to be able to do what we're going to do with it in the next 3 to 4 years is phenomenal. And I want to emphasize, we did not do anything with raising any taxes. This was all done with a corporate fund. It was done with general obligation bonds that are against future taxes. But it's not an increase in taxes. It's just that we're promising to pay off that loan over the next 30 years without increasing any taxes at all.
Okay. Do you have any events coming up? Any meet and greets where people can come talk to you, ask you questions?
We've got a little. We've got the grand opening for Vern Thielen Park.
Right.
Is the 23rd. I'm inviting you out to challenge me with a little pickleball.
I'll have to read up on it.
But then we're doing a little get together at the Sandbar, which is going to be Tacos with Tom, coming up on the 20th.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So that's the 20th at what time?
It'll be 5 to 7 o'clock.
5 to 7 o'clock at the Sandbar.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Robert, back to you.
Yes, sir.
So, any final words you want to impart on the listeners?
I know people waited a long time to see change. And I'm asking you to
You can't ask for a vote, just so you know.
trust me on this one. I'm not asking for your.
Well done.
Trust me on that.
Great.
I knew that part.
And then, do you have any events coming up? I know you just had a meet and greet, but do you have any?
Yeah, we usually have one every Tuesday in Saddlebrook.
Okay.
You know, trying to keep it that way until voting day, but most of the people, believe it or not, have voted by ballot.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got text after phone call, text yesterday. We already voted today, so.
I think you guys have been fantastic guests. You did exactly what I asked, which was to make this about you, your visions for the community. Tell us about yourself. And I have a lot of respect for all of you who've come on. You know, one of the cool things about getting to talk to you guys individually and in these groups is during election season, things seem to get so heated and nasty. I mean, look what's happening in like the Fox Lake race. It's just like it's this person hates this person and this person's evil, and I just disagree with that whole concept. It keeps so many good people out of politics when if you just talk to someone, like sitting here, Tom, talking to you, you seem like the nicest guy ever, right? You know, great grandpa, knows all his grandkids' names, except Brian's. You know? And then it's true, you know, and your opponent was in here too a week or two ago, and he's like a nice guy too. You know, you're all nice guys and girls, and remember, in our political atmosphere, the people that you're screaming at online, they're your neighbors. They're the people standing next to you at T-ball watching your kids play, and don't forget about that. It's such a lost art to have conversation in our kind of separated society. I want to see us all getting back to working together, and whether you're a candidate who wins or loses, don't take that as a reason to disappear. Listen, you told us 2017 you lost your race, but you stayed involved. Whether you win or lose, the fact that you're involved is the important part, because it's not about having the position, it's about improving the community. And I hope, Lake County, you take this to heart and heed what I say, and I hope you agree with what I say, because there's so much to be gained when we all work together, especially in local politics where we don't have to wear partisan hats. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
Guys, I want to thank you very much for joining us today. I think this has been a great episode, probably one of the ones I think I'm most proud of. So you're welcome for making you guys awesome.
Thank you.
Sly, thanks a lot for joining us. Kristen,
pleasure.
we'll see you next week. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining us. This is Dick Barr signing out, Unlocking Lake County. We'll see you next week with our final candidate presentation. Take care and have an awesome week.
Awesome.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the heart of our community, exploring the ins and outs of real estate and meeting the people who make Lake County truly remarkable. Remember, every property has a story, and every community member holds a key to unlocking our county's full potential. Don't miss out on discovering more hidden gems and expert insights. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday at 12 noon for another episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Until then, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep unlocking the possibilities that await you in Lake County. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.